adjust the brightness real quick. Yeah, we straight. There we go. Alright, what's going on, you guys? It's your boy 3 Stacks in this thing, baby, representing Team Kings of Games. What I'm going to do here is show you guys how insane the level of recovery and recursion, and also the pluses that you can get off of Abyss Actors. I know this deck doesn't make the most threatening boards, but honestly, it makes up for that lack in so many different ways to disrupt the opponent in an unorthodox manner. It also has its own unique playstyle, and it's able to rebuild its boards off of one card. One card can get you complete scales and everything that you need to conduct another Pendulum Summon. Also, the deck just turns a 5-card hand into a complete setup, and you can still have 2 to 3 cards left in your hand. Like, cards like Mellow Madonna and Abyss Actor Curtain Raiser are just really insane in this deck. So I'm going to show you guys an optimal hand and what happens when the board gets broken and how many times you could remake it off of just one card. This card is like the Kagari of the deck, but it's stronger than Kagari. It adds from face-up extra deck to hand, not once per turn, just soft once per turn. But it also dumps an Abyss Script from grave to hand for cost, so that your Tainment can then keep fueling your extra deck, setting those cards so you can plus even further. And you can just keep using the extra Curtain Raisers that you can loop off of cards like Mellow Madonna and just keep plussing, adding to your hand. It's just crazy. This deck, like, oh, goodness gracious. So, like I said, I'll show you guys an optimal hand. So, if you want your recursion to be more insane, you try your hardest not to use Curtain Raiser's effect turn 1. Because after turn 1, remaking the board, Curtain Raiser is basically a 1-card combo. So, let's say we opened Mellow Madonna. And... or let's say, better yet, let's say we opened like... nah, because you want to normal summon, honestly, because you do want to resolve Hyper Director. So let's say we didn't open Mellow Madonna. Let's say we open a brick hand, so I could show you guys how strong Hyper Director is. So let's just say, not like a super brick hand, but you just open like the whack Abyss Actors like Heal and Superstar and Lady. And I'll give like one solid one, like Trinity Understudy, for example. So no Mellow Madonna, no Wild Hope, no extras, and also no Curtain Raiser. Curtain Raiser's insane. So even this itself is still gonna get you what you need as long as you have a high scale, because you can use Mellow Madonna to then just search out the Curtain Raiser that you need. So essentially, what you're gonna do is you're gonna activate Evil Heal and Scale, and then you go ahead and normal delete. And these are all the Superstars, not whack. But he's like, as far as getting advantage, he's like one of the weakest ones. So these are none of the super optimal ones. So this is, I'm just showing you guys with the weird hand. So you just normal deleting Lady and then link into this busted Link Monster. This card's incredible. Use him to basically summon the Evil Heal. And then you're going to place Mellow Madonna in scale. And I'm going to turn these 3 cards over and show you basically 2 cards get you a complete setup in this deck. So it doesn't matter what scales are, as long as you have 2 Abyss Actors and one of them can be normal summoned. You have every hand is a 2-card combo with 2 Abyss Actors, as long as one can be normal summoned. You have a 2-card combo that's going to get you complete scales, a Hyper Director, and an Abyss Actor monster on field, and you could pin summon the one they use from extra deck. So you go +3 every single time off 2 Abyss Actors in this deck because of Hyper Director's effect. So you always go +3 every time off 2 cards. So then you just use Mellow Madonna, and since I already have a high scale, I basically can just, you know, search out the Curtain Raiser because he's insane. So even just keeping it self-contained, if I didn't want to work with these 3, I could basically just search out Wild Hope and then scale him, and I have a complete setup now. Just off those 2 cards, I got all of this. So like this, the way this deck plus is very unique. You don't have to hard draw the right scales. Like, for example, that hand could have been a handful of all low scales and no high scale. Then you'll still get the high scale off Madonna. I was just saying, if you have a high scale already, it helps so that way you could search out the Curtain Raiser. Which Curtain Raiser is just crazy. You want to search this out and just keep it there. So in case your board gets broken, it's a self-contained 1-card combo. So then you would go Understudy. If you want to be greedy to get Understudy's extra ability, you could link this into another Hyper Director, for example. And basically, when you pin summon, Understudy would be able to get this back. But essentially, we have the complete scales. So the next thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and just summon, you know, the leading Lady. And I'd summon the Sassy Rookie just so that I can kind of wall up a little bit. And this is sufficient right here, just like as a wall, right? Because you can still, like how Madolche's put up a wall, you can still put up a wall. Which these cards are going to be a bit harder to kill. These have actually pretty solid on-field effects. And honestly, you can't activate Understudy right now. But I really just want to show you guys the recursion. So it doesn't really matter how you set up turn 1. It does, but I'm not really showing you. Because if I wanted to show you how incredible the deck sets up turn 1, we can get to that later in the video where I can show you an optimal hand. I wanted to show you what happens when you just kind of break with this deck. And you just draw all the bad Abyss Actor monsters and like no super duper strong cards. Like no Mellow, no extras, no Wild Hope. You know, basically no Curtain Raiser, like none of those 12 cards. What you do, there's 12 of them, 3 times 4 is 12, but if you don't open any of them, you can still cut up. So essentially what happens is, even if this whole board gets broken, like legit, everything, the entire board, for example, so let's just say everything dies, like, and your skills go. This is just worst case scenario. You know, Sassy Rookie could float. Let's say, like, nothing happens, Sassy Rookie can't float, and, you know, Leading Lady, like, you just get nothing. So I can just put this Superstar as a blank. It doesn't really matter what I draw. In fact, I'm just going to keep the draw there. So I can show you guys, this is where this deck can shine because it recovers its board so many times over and over and over. You can get Lightning Stormed, evenly matched. It won't be the end of the world. So now you could be in top deck mode, but as long as you manage your resources correctly, which means search a Curtain Raiser every turn, this is where your theme archetype Broken Kagari comes into place. So he's a 1-card combo, basically like how Photon Sanctuary is in Galaxy Eyes. So you scale Curtain Raiser. Remember, you didn't use his effect on your first turn because it's a once per duel effect. You activate his effect. You send for cost. I repeat, for cost. For cost, you get to send this card. And what you're going to do, essentially, is you're going to add not Mellow Madonna, just any scale. It doesn't matter what you add. It can be literally any scale. So Trendy Understudy, for example, because he adds a Abyss Actor monster from your face-up extra deck. And if you read, it's a soft once per turn, not a hard once per turn. So he's really busted. He's better than Kagari because you can only Kagari once per turn. But this card's like a more broken Kagari. So working off the same 1-card combo, then you scale Trendy Understudy. And then you link him into the Hyper Director. And then you summon the Trendy Understudy. So essentially now what you get to do is resolving the Hyper Director. You get to scale Mellow Madonna. Keep in mind this is still off of 1 card. Pendulums cannot get complete scales and multiple monsters on the field off 1 card. There's no Pendulum deck that does that. Not Zephyrus, not Endymion. You need 2 cards in hand to complete your scale. If you're talking about, oh, my desires drew into 2 scales, that doesn't count. I'm talking about 1 card that basically guarantees without any random RNG draw factors into a complete setup. So resolving Madonna now, you're going to essentially just search for your high scale. So in this instance, you would just get another Trendy Understudy. Then you could just scale the Understudy. Keep in mind, this is still off 1 card. So now what you can do is basically what I would do here is I would actually pin summon out the Mellow Madonna from my face-up extra deck. And then you... Oh, Kingston. Babe, can you see what's wrong with him? So I pin summon the Mellow Madonna from my face-up extra deck and the Superstar. Even without it, so without the Superstar, you're still getting all this off 1 card. But you're about to cut up with Mellow Madonna and Superstar because you set up your grave. So Superstar also is really good synergy. So Superstar plus Curtain Raiser gets more crazy. But still off this, you're going to use Trendy Understudy because you Pendulum summoned. You get to add Evil Hill to hand. So now you already got a card back in hand. So even without the Superstar, you go plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you still keep the same card in hand off 1 Curtain Raiser. It doesn't matter if the board's not threatening. All that matters is that you just reestablished off 1 card playing a Pendulum deck, which is crazy. But you're going to continue, so you summon the Superstar, which is why, again, it was smart to not summon him turn 1, because you really weren't going to get anything out of it. Then what you're going to do is with Superstar, you're going to set the Tainment, and this is where Mellow Madonna becomes more insane because of her on-field effect. So the next thing you'll do is activate Tainment. Then you're going to trigger Mellow Madonna, and you're going to special summon Curtain Raiser from your deck. Remember how he's not once per turn, you guys? So now what you get to do is activate Curtain Raiser, and you get to dump any, I just dumped Opening Ceremony because I paid 1,000 life points twice now with Mellow Madonna, so I'm going to get a lot of life points back. So essentially, and that's what makes this deck harder to kill too. It could just be like really weird. So now you're gonna go ahead and use Curtain Raiser. So you've dumped the opening ceremony, and you're gonna add any. So you're just gonna add Sassy Rookie, and remember that he got special summon off Mellow Madonna, so he goes bounce back to your hand during the end phase, which means you just get the one card combo over and over and over. So you set up this weird loop where you could run out of Madonnas in your deck, but you could keep adding them from your face-up extra deck off of Curtain Raiser, and you keep gaining life points off Opening Ceremony because you could keep resetting it, and this could be reset so you don't really ever run out. So essentially, as long as your opponent's not OTKing you, you never run out of life points, which means you have infinite Mellow Madonna fodder, which is crazy. So you add this off, and then the next thing that you can do is use the Tainment's effect, and you could basically just tribute the Understudy because you can't capitalize any further off his effect. It'd be crazy if you had another level 8 because then you could just bust out the Evil. Tribute him, and what you'll do is set the Opening Ceremony, and you could just activate the Opening Ceremony, gain a bunch of life points. So you guys see what I'm saying about like how crazy this deck, and this is a twice per turn. And keep in mind, so if you read it, you can only use each effect once per turn, right? So you could still theoretically just set it so that if it gets popped, you use this other effect. But now you can use Tainment to tribute the Curtain Raiser, and you set this, the Rise of the Abyss King, and then you set it, and you activate it, your opponent can't respond to it, and you can nuke some face-up cards. And you got to keep recurring cards. So it's the same thing. You got 2 cards back to your hand, and it really only took like 1.5 basically cards to get you this. So if you guys are seeing like the level of recursion, and I can even go even further and say, oh no, it happened again, my board's broken. Top deck mode. Oh, we top deck a Goliath. Who cares? You're not even going to use it. So like I said, any scale and any normal summonable Abyss Actor monster. So once you run out of Hyper Directors, you can't really do this anymore, but it's crazy how you can do this. So you just normal Sassy Rookie, scale the Evil Hill, make Director, special summon the Evil Hill, and then resolve his effect to go into Mellow Madonna. Then at this point, I would use Mellow Madonna, and I would go ahead and grab one of my high scales. So I'd probably go for Wild Hope because he's like a good high scale, and if something happens, he replaces himself. So I go for Wild Hope in this instance. And then what you would get to do is you could essentially, and that's the cool thing about Evil Hill because he can just set up some crazy recursion. So you could pin summon the Mellow Madonna, and you could basically, because Evil Hill when he's summoned, he would make something super duper small, and basically you could use Evil Hill just attack, and then use his effect to basically just like set the Rise, for example. I don't know why I put the Tainment back into my deck. It's supposed to be in my graveyard because it gets sent to the graveyard as well. So Attainment's supposed to be in my graveyard. That's just like if everything just dies. So essentially you just set the Tainment off of him. And then you could basically do this where you activate Tainment, not even using the effect. On activation, you trigger Madonna. And then you summon out, where my boy at? Like my favorite right here, Curtain Raiser. Again, you see how many times you could just keep reestablishing your board? You like legit, it gets to that point where you're just like, dude, we need to play Pot of Avarice so that we never run out of Hyper Directors, because Hyper Director makes so much of this possible. But really, Curtain Raiser and Mellow Madonna just pay for so much of your resources. So you use her to summon him, then you use him. You could then just start dumping different names to recur, like Wild Wagon, dump Wild Wagon. At this point, I would probably just, because remember, Curtain Raiser says add one face-up Abyss Actor Pillow monster for your extra to hand. You can even add Curtain Raiser off his own effect. So I keep looping the Curtain Raisers to make sure that I can always fix my scales, keep resources in hand, because once you run out of Hyper Directors, you're basically going to be using Curtain Raiser and Mellow Madonna to keep your resources built. So it's like when I say Pendulum Sky Strikers, it's like Pendulum Sky Strikers. So you dump and then you add, so you're just getting that card back. And then you can basically just go Tainment, Tribute, set, activate. It's twice per turn, so then you can go Tainment, Tribute, or suffice to say, probably just keep her because she's crazy. Tribute the heal, set Ceremony, activate it, get another 1k, because that's twice per turn. You guys see where like it's just, this deck is just really interesting how it can just recur. So I really wanted to show you guys that level of recursion. Now I'm just going to do just random hands where you guys see how busted this deck is after I show you the optimal opening. So obviously it's not always nice to open Mellow Madonna since you get such consistent access to her because anything that makes Hyper Director. So basically, any two Abyss Actors in your hand essentially, or an Abyss Actor and a Scale, get you Mellow Madonna off of Hyper Director, which makes your deck ridiculously consistent because every single Abyss Actor at that point becomes a 1.5 card combo where you're never ever gonna like run into a problem where you can't get Madonna as long as Hyper Director resolve. Now if he gets ashed and you have the Madonna, well I don't think he can get ashed because he specials in places. Never mind. If he gets Veiled or Imperm and you still have the Madonna, you're just super nice at that point. So I would say Curtain Raiser. You don't even need Madonna. You legit don't need Madonna or extra sometimes. So I'll just say Curtain Raiser, Wild Hope, Superstar. So this would be like a really, really nice 3-card combo. So obviously you would just you could honestly just normal the Curtain Raiser to save his Scale effect because you don't need to use it right now. So you could just normal the Curtain Raiser, scale the Superstar, then you could just link the Curtain Raiser, for example. Use him, summon the Superstar out. Oh my bad. So at that point, you probably do that with the Wild Hope because Curtain Raiser staying in hand is actually better. And then you get Mellow Madonna. Then you activate Mellow Madonna. And essentially, you're just going to get like your strongest high skill again. You're going to get Wild Hope. And you basically just go scale Wild Hope. And what you can do, just so you can keep paying for your resources, I wouldn't pin summon this unless you absolutely have to. It's better in this deck to make sure you keep... So it's smart, if you want your scripts to be live, you want to keep cards in your face-up extra deck. That's important to know. But when you're trying to make sure that you can play the long game so that you can keep rebuilding your board, you want at least one Abyss Actor in hand so you're guaranteed full combo next turn all over again. So at this point, you would just pin out the Curtain Raiser. And you basically use his effect. I just dumped the Abyss, honestly, because you can use Superstar to get Tainment, and you could just pop off. And then you can just get to add this to your face up to your hand. And then you can use him to set the Tainment. Activate the Tainment. Then you could tribute this bad boy. And set this if you just really want to plus that much. Also, if you want to make him protected, if you're up against a deck that targets a lot, you could dump Wild Wagon off the Curtain Raiser, use Superstar to set and activate the Tainment, and use it to tribute the Curtain Raiser to get the Wild Wagon, and then activate it. Basically, you're going to target Superstar, or if you want to protect Hyper Director, because he's a once per turn effect, either or target either one of these, and they can't be targeted by card effects until the end of their your opponent's next turn. Your opponent can't target them, and the first time they would be destroyed by battle, each turn they're not. So they have battle protection and targeting protection, which makes it harder to just break the board. So going back to a setup, because honestly, it doesn't matter what happens to the board. As long as you don't get OTK, you have Wild Hope. You're going to draw a Scale no matter what. And that was just 3 cards anyways. So we could reset the game state, and we can go, what happens when you actually open Mellow Madonna? This is where it's nuts. So if you open Mellow Madonna, so now we're just going to show you an optimal hand. Like Mellow Madonna, Curtain Raiser, Wild Hope. And extras is like super nice, but extras is one of those things where it's like you can't resolve Hyper Director, or you just really, really desperately need the extras. So you keep the extras as backup utility because it just gives you way more consistency, honestly. So this is a super optimal hand. The Trendy Understudy is just going to randomly start plussing and generating advantage for you. So what you can do with this hand is earnestly, you can normal summon the Trendy Understudy because you're not going to need his effect anytime soon. You just have him there as a name, so then you can basically do this. You can scale the Superstar because Superstar is super clutch, you guys, like super duper clutch. Link him into this, use this effect. Oh my bad, actually you'd be scaling the Madonna. I'm really tripping. My bad, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not tripping. I'm not tripping. I'm not tripping. You summon out the Superstar. You're not scaling the Madonna. So that instance I was tripping because you can't do same name with Hyper. So you never try to use Hyper to special Madonna and scale Madonna. You can't do that. So you summon the Superstar, then you scale Madonna. What you do next is you scale the Wild Hope, and then you basically go pin summon. Keep him in extra deck so you can add him to hand, so he can actually make sure that your recursion is solid. So what you do from here is you're obviously gonna go for Curtain Raiser's effect. Honestly, you can just do like a cool turn 1 setup with Wild Wagon just for protection. So you could dump Wild Wagon to make your board a little bit harder to break. So you dump Wild Wagon, and then add Trinity Understudy to your hand. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna activate Superstar. You're gonna set the Tainment. Then you're gonna activate it, which is gonna trigger Mellow Madonna. And then this point, what you'll do, since you didn't use Curtain Raiser's once per duel effect, you can summon either a Wild Hope to replace himself in a Curtain Raiser or a Curtain Raiser. So for example, we'll summon a Wild Hope to make the board harder to break. And you'll basically go Tainment's effect. And what you'll do here is you basically tribute the Curtain Raiser. So now you can have even more massive recursion. Set the Wild Wagon. You can then activate the Wild Wagon and use it to target Superstar or the Mellow Madonna because she's more important to leave on field. Make her untargetable, and all these are going to be a little bit harder to kill now. So worst case scenario, right? This is where the worst case scenario happens. Everything dies. So these go to extra deck, these go to grave. This dies, this dies. Your whole board gets broken. Wild Hope gets to search out a Curtain Raiser. You're on top deck mode. The reason why it's okay for this deck to be on top deck mode is because every turn when you set your board up, this is if you're going first and you didn't draw Morphage Goliath or any mythical beast to lock your opponent out or set up interruptions. And this is if you didn't draw the field spell. Notice how I didn't do any interactions with the field spell. I'm just showing you guys the level of recursion and consistency this deck has. So you're setting yourself up for next turn on your first turn. This is excluding me showing you guys how this deck can OTK, how you can actually get nutty pluses off the field spell. If we have time, we'll get there. But basically now, because you have Curtain Raiser by itself and you didn't use his once per duel effect, it don't matter if you're in top deck mode. So it really doesn't matter what you draw. You just scale him. And I do play 2 Abyss Tainments, so keep that in mind. So you can basically just go scale him, special him, use his effect. You just dump a random name, like another Abyss Script, for example, right? And then you just add Mellow Madonna from your face-up extra to hand. Even worse, because you have a normal summon, you can add Curtain Raiser off Curtain Raiser. Read the effect. 1 face-up a Big Doctor Pendulum Monster, not even excluding himself, so he's the most busted Kagari ever. So then you go normal summon him. And then you go dump another name like Opening Ceremony. Then you add the Mellow Madonna off 1 card. Off 1 card, you guys. Then you go Mellow Madonna, use her effect. And then you'll search for your strongest high skull again, which is always going to be the... well, honestly, at this point, because there's something you could recur in your face-up extra, if I'm not mistaken. Nah, there's still nothing, so I wouldn't go for Trinity still. Plus, I have a Trinity in hand now, I realize. You would go for the Wild Hope. Then you would just scale this because it's a high scale. Wild Hope can now be pinned, right? So now what you could even do is you could take it further. So let's say, for example, you want to go aggressive. You can grab Evil Heal. You can scale it. Then you can link this into him, use his effect, special the Evil Heal. And then you could still scale, like for example, the Trinity Understudy. Then when you pin summon, you're obviously going to pin summon this. The Mellow Madonna. So now basically you're going to be able to set up to recur everything all over again. Remember the Trinity Understudy that I had in hand? I didn't use it at all. So Evil Hook can do the same thing, where you can basically just reset your Tainment. Then you can activate it main phase 2, triggering Madonna. And then you summon another Curtain Raiser. Then you do Curtain Raiser's effect again, because it's not hard once per turn.
It's like, no more.
And you use Curtain Raiser to add Curtain Raiser, so you always have a Curtain Raiser. Curtain Raiser is like the most busted card ever in this deck. Then you can just effectively tribute this Curtain Raiser, and then set this bad boy, so I guess you should summon her in attack, and you could just nuke a bunch of cards. It's like, it's really, really crazy what this deck can do. So for a separate video, if this interests you guys, I can show you guys interactions with the field spell where you can make your opponent really neg while you plus, and do some crazy effects that normally should not be legal, like drawing 5 cards on your opponent's turn, things of that nature. But if this interests you guys, definitely let me know and I'll continue doing Abyss Actor content. But the purpose of this video was to show you how consistent this deck is, how much it can plus, how it gets a full setup off of very little cards, and how one Curtain Raiser gets a full field on like for your follow-ups. It's crazy. So you could do resource management. It's like Sky Strikers, you know. You could even play a bunch of traps and spells to disrupt your opponent and hand traps, because this deck's engine only requires 2 cards to get online, if that makes sense. So thank you guys for watching this video. God bless you. Make good choices. Don't hurt your brain cells. Stay tuned for future content. And have a beautiful day. I'm going to say a quick prayer. Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, Jesus. Thy kingdom come, and thy will be done on earth just as it is in heaven. Please give us this day our daily bread, Lord, and please forgive us of our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, Father, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the glory, and the power forever. In the mighty name of Jesus I pray. Thank you, Father. Amen. All right, deuces is wild, yo.